Hi everyone, thanks for watching. A lot of us have heard the date of March 4th being talked about on social media quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, and that's because our friends in QAnon are promoting it as the actual day that Trump will return to power. QAnon, of course, manages to encompass a wide variety of conspiracy theories, each one seemingly more convoluted than the one that came before. Just about all of them portray Trump as a hero, a brave and righteous warrior fighting against an evil deep state. In fact, their opinion of Trump is second only to Trump's opinion of Trump. The March 4th date itself was a rather minor theory within QAnon in the weeks following Trump's loss in the November election. It was initially overshadowed by QAnon followers focusing in on what they believed to be a stolen election, which they were convinced would result in Trump invoking the Insurrection Act or declaring martial law. However, the interest around March 4th date recently spiked after it was revealed that prices to rent a room on that day at the Trump International Hotel in D.C. had skyrocketed to $1,331 a night, or more than double the normal $596 price for a guest room for most of the month. Of course, the Trump International Hotel in D.C. is no stranger to raising its prices on dates that are significant to Trump supporters. On January 6th, the date of Trump's rally in D.C., and the day of the Capitol attack in which QAnon supporters played a big part, it cost $8,000 to rent a room that night. The latest prediction from QAnon is apparently based on the beliefs of the sovereign citizen movement. You may remember them as the people who believe they do not have to pay any taxes or follow any federal laws, and who inevitably end up in trouble because of that. This belief of sovereign citizens is based on two things. First, that a law passed in 1871 secretly turned the U.S. into a corporation. Thus, every president after Ulysses S. Grant, who was president in 1871, is illegitimate. Secondly, they are also convinced that the U.S. has been run by a group of shadow investors since 1933, when FDR ended the gold standard. The date of the presidential inaugurations was also changed from March 4th to January 20th in 1933 via the 20th Amendment. Combining those two things, the latest QAnon theory is that March 4th, 2021 is the start of the new republic, since March 4th was the start date of any presidential term up until this change in 1933. And because Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th president, was the last legitimate president of the United States, Trump will assume power as the 19th president of the United States on March 4th, 2021. Why do they all believe this? Because at the end of his January 7th speech, Trump said, "Our incredible journey is only just beginning." QAnon latched onto that statement as yet another reason for their followers to remain hopeful. The millions of people who follow QAnon desperately want to believe that the military and the so-called Q team have everything under control. But will anything actually happen on March 4th? Of the thousands and thousands of Q drops over the past 3 years, not one has actually come true. Many, though, are just vague enough that they can be explained away as having been fulfilled in secret, or that things have been delayed out of necessity. The March 4th prophecy, of course, seems a bit too specific to explain away if it ends up not happening. Thus, the reality of that day passing without Trump regaining power may be too much for some QAnon followers to accept, and they will wake up and leave the Q cult. That's good news, of course, except those that remain will, unfortunately, be the hardcore believers who will dig even deeper down into those rabbit holes. However, just because Trump himself will not regain power on March 4th, that doesn't mean that nothing will happen. If January 6th has taught us anything, it's that many Trump supporters, and especially those who follow QAnon, will do almost anything in support of Trump. In fact, many of those who took part in the attack on the Capitol have stated that they only went to D.C. because Trump asked them to. I see the online rhetoric reaching a fever pitch in the days leading up to March 4th, and we can only pray that no violence or loss of life happens as a result of the fanaticism of those who follow QAnon. The bottom line is that Antichrist Trump will at some point regain all the power he so desperately craves. But there's simply no reason to believe that will happen on March 4th, as this theory, like so many other QAnon theories, is not based on reality. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and if you care to leave a comment, please do. Take care.